when you got started in this, you went to a dinner with President Clinton. You weren't seated real close to him, but you did a little shuffling of the place cards, I understand.
I did.
So you could get closer to President Clinton.
Should I be admitting that on fill in the blanks? I guess so. Too late now. The cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, you already have.
So we're going to fill in this blank right now.
So tell that story.
Yeah. So I was lucky to be invited to a dinner at someone's home, at which the outgoing president, because at that point it was September of '99, I think, and President Clinton was going to be there. And I made sure up front that I was going to be seated at his table, but I wanted to be as close to him as I could be. And when I got there and went and looked at the name tags, I didn't like where they were. The place cards, I should say. So I did what I had to do and got myself seated directly across from him because it was an oval table and this was the short way. And at that dinner, Doc, I got him engaged in a conversation about the drug laws and mandatory sentencing and, about his brother, who had served time for a year for a drug crime back in the day. And I talked to him about how these days it would have been a lot more difficult for him. He would have served a long time in a very harsh environment. And I had a letter in my pocket from a woman, I think her name was Amy Poefel, who President Clinton had granted clemency to, not too long before this dinner. He hadn't granted a lot of them, but very, very few, but this was one. And I handed him the letter, and he read it at the table, and he put it in his pocket, or he read part of it, and I said to him, "So, Mr. President, what you did for Amy and several other people was wonderful, even heroic, but I know of hundreds of cases just as bad as those." And he says, "You get them to me, and I'll sign them." And everybody at the table sort of stopped doing what they were doing, was like, "What did I just hear that? What did he say?" And I was like, and then I thought, I had one really lucid moment. I said, "Wait a minute, Mr. President, with all due respect, when you leave here tonight, you're not going to be the easiest guy for me to get a hold of. I don't think anyone's giving me your number.
I don't have you on my speed dial."
No. So I said, "How do you recommend I go about doing this?" So he pointed to a guy who was one of his aides, and he said, "Go speak to this guy." And he said, "You'll have to go through Bruce Lindsay, who is the chief counsel in the Justice Department, and go through the normal process." I said, "What type of cases will you look at?" And, he said he was interested in first offense, nonviolent first offenders, I should say, who had served at least, a handful of years. And so I went back to Families Against Mandatory Minimums, FAMM, like I said, .org, check it out. And we scrambled and compiled a list of cases that...
And you got 17 out of 25.
Ended up submitting 25 ultimately and got 17 with an assist from my dad. And, he gave me some great advice about how to, navigate the system, because you can't just send them in and hope. That's not a good strategy.
No, but apparently wetted your whistle, because during the 2 terms that Obama served, you got nearly 2,000 prisoners released.
Well, I certainly didn't get those prisoners released.
I
but,
know you always say that, but you were involved, let's say.